What's your favorite scary movie?
Be like, I'm dying.
If some guy came up to me and said, "Hey, they guys, I'm like, it's over and done. We're married now."
Someone in the movie, so I'm like, kiss. But
Oh God, what a sea of humanity.
Welcome into 52/1994, your live movie conversation podcast, where we dive deep into the movies of 1994. I am your host, Cody, and I'm thrilled to be joined this week by my co-host, Tori. Welcome in, Tori.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi. For those tuning in for the first time, we're so glad that you're here each week, 52 of them to be exact. We explore a different film from 1994, whether it's a classic hit, a quirky gem, or just a terrible movie. We'll dive into this year's important releases, discuss them in detail, and then chat about them with my guest and their thoughts and their experiences with this movie. And of course, today's movie of choice is Interview with the Vampire, not to be confused with Interview with a Vampire, which is not a real thing. But before we jump into this movie, let's welcome our guest, Tori. Tori, thank you so much for joining us. Have you seen the film that we're discussing today? And if so, what memories do you have of it? If not, what's your first impressions? But I think you've seen this.
I did see it, but it was so long ago. Like, kind of despicable how early I think I saw this movie. I'm pretty sure I saw it at the age of like 10, which is not cool.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I will say is that I also read the book at a much too early age. And the reason that I did that was because I wanted to be that girl. I wanted to be that cool girl who like read classic literature. And my mom had a leather-bound copy of this book. So in my child mind, I was like, it's obviously like classic literature. It's great. It's not. It's smut.
This is like the OG, like Anne Rice is the OG smut writer.
Yeah, she's definitely one of them. And apparently my mother also read it. So, but I don't want to unpack that right now.
I'm not your therapist. I can't do that.
So first, I mean, like, I will say that I forgot quite a bit of this movie. But I have watched the series. So I kind of had that in the back of my mind.
Okay, yeah. I'll be honest, I felt the exact same way going back through this. I watched this at too young of an age, probably when it came out in 94. So I was probably 7 years old. My oldest sister was really into Anne Rice and really into these books. And she probably let me watch it at a much too young of an age. There are specific moments that I remember from this movie. And then there were moments where I was like, I do not remember that happening at all. So, and then just what the internet has said over the years. But I have not watched the AMC show.
Oh, you should. Oh, it's so good, Cody.
Yeah,
Cody would love it. Yes, watch it. 100%.
I heard it's a little less or a little more on the nose than this movie is.
They have a lot more context. Like, where watching this movie again after watching the series, I'm like, wow, the movie is so like shallow. And this series like really gets into a lot of the background motivations for a lot of characters.
Okay, yeah. I should definitely check it out. It'll add to the list of horror shows that I need to go through.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and talk about this movie. Let me introduce it fully, and then we can break it down scene by scene, whatever you want to do. So this movie, of course, is called Interview with the Vampire. It came out November 11th of 1994. It is directed by Neil Jordan. He's probably most famous for his movie, The Crying Game. That was the only other movie that he did that really got like Oscar acclaim. And so if you know anything about The Crying Game, or you can look it up, that's what Neil Jordan's famous for. Of course, this is written by Anne Rice herself. She wrote the screenplay for this and is based on her novels that came out, I think started coming out in like 76 is what I read. And the cast is a pretty hot cast. I'm not going to lie. This is probably one of the hottest casts.
It's girl dinner. The entire movie is girl dinner. I watched it last night while I was eating dinner, and I forgot that Christian Slater is in it. And the second I saw his name, I was just like, Girl dinner, girl dinner. I got so excited.
But of course, this cast has hotties from the 90s, early 90s. So we've got Tom Cruise as Lestat. We've got Brad Pitt as Louis. Antonio Banderas as Armand. Stephen Ray, who is not hot, but is Santiago. Christian Slater as Daniel Malloy. And Kirsten Dunst as Claudia in this movie, who, you know, we love Kirsten Dunst, but she's 12 years old in this movie, and it's pretty interesting. The synopsis for this movie is: born as an 18th century Lord, Louis is now a bicentennial vampire, telling his story to an eager biographer. Suicidal after the death of his family, he meets Lestat, a vampire who persuades him to choose immortality over death and become his companion. Eventually, gentle Louis resolves to leave his violent maker, but Lestat guilts him into staying by turning a young girl whose addition to the family breeds even more conflict. This movie had a budget of $60 million and a box office return of $223.7 million. So this movie did quite well at the box office. I didn't look up what number it was, but I imagine it's in the top 10 of movies for this year. It has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 63%, an IMDb score of 7.5 out of 10, and a Letterboxd score of 3.6 out of 5. So genuinely
Not bad.
pretty well liked.
I'm really curious if it beats Twilight in any of those ratings.
I think it has to, right? Surely.
I don't know. I described it this way to Alyssa actually earlier today. Interview with the Vampire is Twilight minus the Mormonism.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, instead of like trying to pretend that like the vampires aren't inherently sexual, this one's just like, no, they're sexual as hell, and they're homosexual.
Yeah, this movie is pretty gay.
Series is more gay.
So I'm having some audio issues myself, not you. I can hear you perfectly fine. Is it still working? Chat, let me know if my audio has been fixed or not. I did unplug and
I'm hearing it on my
You're hearing the bad audio? Oh,
Yeah.
good. Oh, great. Let me see what I can do here.
No worries.
Thank
Take
you.
your time. Everybody can just enjoy Jinx.
There we
in the
go.
meantime.
Exactly.
See if he behaves this last time he didn't want to.
Bear with me. I know you all can hear me, but it's not what I want you to hear me on.
Take your time. In the meantime, chat poll. Would you rather fuck Louis or Edward from Twilight?
That's a pretty good
They're both very
question.
brutal.
Let's see here.
Alyssa, Jinx is not dressing up for Halloween. He refuses to even wear a collar. I want to put bat wings on him though. He would be so cute as a little bat, but he won't have it. He's too much of a princess. I wish. Say hi to the people, Jinx. Stop being antisocial. Hello. He's just happy to be involved. He has a lot of opinions that he will share. Okay, we got one response. Edward.
Okay. How about now?
Canonically, you sound good to me.
Chat, do I sound good? I'll have to wait. They get it like 20 seconds after I say it. So, all right.
Oh.
Back in this. I think it's because of which USB port I had to check. That's beside the point. Anyway, Roger Ebert gave this movie 3 out of 4 stars. He said, "My complaint about the film is that not very much happens in the plot sense. The movie is much more about the history and reality of vampirism than about specific events, although some action does center around the fate, plural, of Lestat. A stronger plot engine might have drawn us more quickly to the end, but on a scene-by-scene basis, Interview with the Vampire is a skillful exercise in macabre imagination." So 3 out of 4 stars, not a bad thing there. And then Desson Thomas, who often goes against Roger Ebert, said it is from specific point in the movie, around the middle of the picture of the movie, that the movie's energy starts to drain like blood from a vampire's victim. You'll feel that ebb sooner or later as you begin to glance regularly at your watch. So,
I agree.
As much as I remember this movie and remember parts of this fondly, it was not the quickest movie in watching.
Yeah, I definitely like around the middle, just like you said. I mean, I started like just looking at Instagram. I was like, this is boring.
Not great.
But then it does pick back up when Louis has his like revenge on the theater folk. That whole scene is good, but yeah, around the middle, it's just kind of like, we're still here.
Yeah. So this movie was nominated actually for 2 Academy Awards, Best Art Direction and Best Original Score. It didn't win any of them. And then, of course, we've talked a little bit about what kind of legacy this movie has. Of course, this is a part of the Vampire Chronicles of Anne Rice. She wrote a couple more books after this movie came out. The only other movie to be filmed from this is The Queen of the Damned, starring most famously Aaliyah before her death. I think it came out maybe posthumously. She had died, and then the movie came out after. And then, of course, the AMC show Interview with the Vampire, which is supposed to be more accurate to the actual books, a little, like I said, a little bit more on the nose with the companionship of Louis and Lestat.
And Armand.
And Armand, of course. We can't forget him.
I don't think that Anne Rice is a writer on the show. I think that she's just like a consultant. So I will say, I don't want to be mean, but I don't think that Anne Rice is a great writer. If what I remember of the book and the show is totally indicative of her writing, it's not great. The TV show is much better written.
That's good. Also, Anne Rice kind of is strayed away from the vampire books and stuff, and the smut. In like the 2000s, she got Jesus in her life and started writing like religious books. So that's probably why I think her children are more into like the script supervision part of it, and seeing, how her legacy is treated. So it's interesting. But yeah, she's got some God books out there that I heard aren't very good.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
How does one make that jump from vampire to God?
and it's funny, like I actually have read some of Anne Rice. I think I've read Interview with the Vampire when I was much too young. I also read some like books that she wrote under a pseudonym, that she wrote like fairy tale porn.
Excellent. That is my preferred genre.
This was like it was like Sleeping Beauty was the fairy tale. Yeah, it wasn't great. And there was a lot of like statue sex happening. Like people were having sex with statues. It was too much for my 11-year-old brain to comprehend. I'm sure that's
Cody's traumatized.
Yeah. It was pretty interesting and wild. Anyway, let's dive into the movie discussion, and let's talk about some of the scenes that really stick out to us that make the film memorable. There are some lagging parts of this that we've already discussed, but what are some of the scenes that really stuck out to you?
So one scene, and it really got me, was when you first meet Claudia, and like it does a sting on her mom's face. Her mom, who has like died of the plague at least a month ago, and it's just like, Jesus Christ, that's terrifying. And then very quickly later, when Lestat comes in and he like starts dancing with her mom's corpse, that was one of the moments where I was like, oh right, this is a horror movie. This is not like, I feel like it was maybe billed as like a cerebral like thing, but it's like, no, this is a horror movie. That's horror. Yeah,
and that's actually one of my like what the fuck moments is when he picks her up and it starts dancing with her. It's pretty bizarre.
It's like, what's wrong with you, my guy? So many things, but like that specifically. And then I think, Claudia's death scene is a big one too. That again, I'm like, that's psychological torture before you kill her. in a really horrific way. So again, I feel like the scenes that like I'm picking out are the ones that I'm like, oh right, this is horror, and I don't know if it was actually like billed as that when it came out. Like, were people expecting the horror aspect of it? Because it's kind of crazy.
And I think that some of the scenes in the books are supposed to be even more violent, or
I believe that.
yeah. But yeah, I don't know if people were expecting, especially with like the sexiness of the cast that we have. Are they expecting all this blood? Are they expecting all this like decay? I noticed that you went with a lot of Claudia scenes, so
I like her character, and I was trying to reconcile the grossness of her character with like why I liked her character. And I think it's because if you remove her from the context, just her in herself, like the fact that she is a child with the mind of an adult, it's great inherent tension. It really is. It's when you introduce the other characters that it gets icky.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like her in herself, like, and she holds a lot of anger and frustration. Kirsten Dunst and like this movie, it doesn't necessarily come off that well in the series. And I feel like I'm going to be talking about the series so much because it's like one of my new favorite series. They age her up again. Claudia's 14 in the series, and the actresses, because it's two different actresses who play her over the course of the 2 seasons. And like at one point, one of the actresses just yells, "Which one of you is going to fuck me?" And it's like, obviously neither of them, because you're a child, but it's like, that is the inherent tension in her character.
Mm-hmm.
So I find her really fascinating, if not icky.
It's interesting too, and I read that they aged her up. She's actually played by an 18-year-old actress in the show, and that's kind of how they've aged her. But Claudia in the books is 5.
I know.
Gross.
That's and I think that it was only smart to age her up. Like just keep, like, obviously you have to have like a little bit to keep that inherent tension in her character of like she'll never grow up and be a woman. But I think that aging her up is only a good idea. And the movie does a decent job of not, like, obviously I think there is the sexualization of a child in this movie, but it is not as bad as it could be, with the fact that like I'm not defending it by any means. I feel like we always get this, you and I, even when we do like We're Back, there's some like weird child thing in there. I don't like it, Cody. Yeah. Can you stop? Hey, you picked it. I can't help you. Good point. I did. But yeah, no, I thought they did a really good job, and I thought that Kirsten Dunst handled it really well. And from what I've read, the other people handled it really, really well on set. And I think they took out as much of that stuff as possible. Yeah. It's. Luckily, in this movie, I am glad that they took out like the sexual aspect of it all, because that's just not great. No, but Claudia. So you listed off one of my scenes was about Claudia getting killed. The French vampire troop coven, whatever they call them, taking Claudia and Madeline, and who's a newly made vampire, and essentially just condemning them to death, putting them in a room where the sun's going to hit them. That scene's great. A lot of tension. I do think they could have played it up a little bit better and like made it closer for like Louis to almost save them and then come in there. I think they could have done that a little bit better. It seemed like to me it seemed like trapping Louis behind the wall for what, like 8 hours was not worth it. Like they did a lot of brickwork and everything, and Armand just busts him out. So again, series does do it better. So highly recommend. Go ahead. Well, I think also like the fact that Armand like tried to play it off like he had nothing to do with it, when it's like we know that he didn't, and then it was very quickly revealed that Louis also knew that he was involved. It's like, that there could have been more tension there. There could have they could
Mhm.
have played that up more. It would have made it even more tragic for Louis's character, but it's like he is a tragic character, so it's like if you're gonna torture him, do it right.
And I think in the books, and I don't know about the television show, but they do play that up a lot more. Like Louis doesn't find out until much later that Armand knew.
Yeah.
And they actually spend like time together as companions
Yeah.
to like the 70s or whatever it is.
Yeah, in the TV series is set in modern day, so it's like even up to when the series is happening. Louis finds out in the middle of the series. Like
Yeah.
you find out in kind of real time with him if you haven't read the books or watched the movie.
Yeah, and I think they did, and I read some of that in my research that they did cut out a lot of that. I mean, we were already pushing. We already have it at 2 hours, a little over 2 hours. So
Long movie.
yeah, a long movie. One thing I really like scene wise, or anytime that they create or like creating Louis, creating Claudia, I do kind of like, I'm interested in that. I've watched a lot of vampire stuff, how you get turned. We've all seen Twilight. Well, most of us have probably seen Twilight and how they get turned. I'm a big Buffy the Vampire Slayer person. So like what
you haven't, go watch.
Yeah. Watching some of that stuff.
You're back. You're good.
Am I frozen? Okay.
You're back.
Okay. So it's unique, and every one of those is very unique about how they transform them. And I kind of liked the lore, I guess, around Anne Rice's vampires. It's like they can't do anything. They are like stuck in time. They can't cut their hair. They can't change anything. Like the only thing they can change on them is their clothes. Their hair is going to be as long as it's ever going to be. You can't grow it, can't make it longer.
Makes for some really awkward ponytails on these very beautiful men, and then it's just like ponytail. And it's like, all right, George Washington.
And then it doesn't even help poor Claudia, who's stuck with this like doll-like tight curls and everything for the remainder of it. And probably one of my favorite scenes of the movie is when Claudia, who is growing older now, is probably of an adult's age at this point, and Lestat brings her a new doll, and she's like, great, thanks, I've got $1 million. I'm not a girl anymore, or I'm not a child. Stop treating me like a child and dressing me up like your doll. I love that scene because Claudia goes fucking ham on the world. She cuts her hair, it grows back. She has a dead person just laying in her bed.
I forgot about that scene until I saw it again, and it was just like, oh shit, there's a corpse.
Just very jarring. A naked corpse that she had like not lusted after, but like wanted to be her because she was a grown woman. She was everything that she couldn't be.
And again, like I feel like that's a good way to show that tension without going down the gross route. I mean, it's gross in a different way, but not in the pedophilia way, at least, I guess. Like just wanting so badly to have her body reflect her mind, that she just holds onto the corpse of an adult woman in her bed is like, Jesus Christ.
And before like Claudia it's at this point that Claudia's like, I'm gonna have my revenge on Lestat and Louis to an extent. She goes to she asks for forgiveness from Lestat. Lestat's playing, and man, I think like at that moment there's like a brief like actual apology in there, and then Lestat ruins it, and he's like, oh, you'll never grow tits like her, sucks to be you, like just a biting remark. And I think that that kind of seals his fate when Claudia's like, hey, I brought you some gifts.
Aren't they great? Aren't these dead boys great?
Oh my gosh. And that is a part of the movie that I do remember as a young child watching this movie, seeing how they kill Lestat with these dead boys, because you don't drink dead blood. That's bad for you.
I think that I remember how I felt, because I remember very briefly the scene where Louis comes back afterwards and like he's covered by that lace curtain so you don't actually see him. I remember that, and then I think my brain cut out when you actually see like zombie Louis or Lestat, excuse me. Like yeah. So I do remember that. I think that they did that really well with like they're running back into the house and then all of a sudden they stop when they hear the piano playing, and then it's like he's hidden behind this lace curtain. You can only kind of see him, and then it's like revealed that he's this swamp witch looking thing. I think they did that really well.
Yeah. I kind of love Tom Cruise going for it with this role. You don't see this Tom Cruise. We haven't seen that kind of Tom Cruise for, I mean, probably since this. Yeah, honestly. I mean, I think maybe he gets a little bit out there in Magnolia, which I think is probably his best performance. But like once he got into Mission Impossible mode in '95, he was like, that's who I am for the rest of my life. Yeah. Which is unfortunate because he could.
He's an actor. He's a good actor.
Yeah.
He is. It's just that he's a terrible person.
Yeah, he is. He's a monster outside this, but he's really good at playing a monster in movies too.
He is, yeah. I'll say it again that the TV series way outdoes the movie because the actor who plays Lestat in the TV series, his name is Sam Reed. He got into acting because he wanted to play Lestat. Like that was his sole reason for getting into acting, and he embodies the character so well. He's actually my fan cast. Like I now that I've seen him as Lestat, I can't see anybody else as Lestat. It's scary how good he is.
Yeah. Anne Rice did not want Tom Cruise in this role. That's one of like my research facts is, she was very much against this. And then she saw the movie because they were like, we don't care what you say. We're going to put Tom Cruise in this movie. It's Tom freaking Cruise. And after she saw the movie and after she saw how well Tom Cruise did in it, she ended up calling him, writing him an apology, putting out like 2 ads. She took out 2 full ad pages in like the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal to just say like how great the movie is. She also recorded something ahead of the like VHS that would be like, I approve of this interview with the vampire. It's so good. Tom Cruise is amazing. So like she went political ad. Yeah, she went like overboard praising Tom Cruise for him as Lestat. So
all right.
The blonde, he has terrible teeth to be a vampire.
I was really frustrated, like especially in the early scenes. Like, so it kind of started like because they name the person who did the teeth and the makeup. They name him in the credits. It's like vampire teeth and vampire makeup. This guy, and then like I saw Louis' teeth looked great the entire time. Claudia's teeth looked great. I feel like Tom Cruise's teeth were too big for the prosthetics.
Well, I think it's also too because of his middle tooth.
Yeah. But like especially that first scene where he turns Louis, I was just like, he's got a full plate in and you can tell he's got a full plate. And I'm just like, that looks terrible. But then there are a few scenes here and there where I think that they put in like the individual teeth like I've got, and it looks so much better. And I'm just like, why couldn't you just have him like that the entire time? Because it took me out of it.
Yeah.
When I saw the bad ones.
Alyssa watched about 10 minutes of it with me. And one of the few comments she did make while we were watching it, besides her being just grossed out completely by the amount of blood and weird stuff in it, she made a comment about the teeth and how bad they were, especially in that scene that you're talking about. Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah. We needed some better teeth, but only they had the nice, like dainty, like you said, like you have. Those are, subtle.
And they're easier to talk in because that's the other thing that like when he has the full plate in, he's really struggling to fit his upper lip around the teeth. Just like a little bit, he acts his way out of it pretty well, but you can tell that he's like not able to talk correctly. And I was like, he's delivering some really cunty lines, but it's a struggle, and it's fully just taking me out of this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. But the makeup that they did, I really loved the subtlety actually of the vampire makeup. It was like you can just like see the veins in their faces. I thought that was a really good call. Like,
Well, I bring now that you brought up the makeup, I'll go ahead and tell you how they did it. So they made them hang upside down for enough time for the blood to reach their head, so that they could actually see the veins on their head, and then they would trace the veins.
no.
Yes.
Oh my god.
So,
my god.
As subtle as the makeup is, and it's just like, oh, pasty white makeup, blue veins,
Yeah,
like all that stuff. They were in the makeup chair for over 3 hours every time doing this makeup.
So they did that every single time they had them hang upside down. Holy shit, that's dedication. I love that. I love that so much.
One of the reasons that Brad Pitt hated this movie was just the makeup, the process of the makeup. Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. I can't that's like Jim Carrey and the Grinch level shit. That's crazy.
It is insane. And for what you see, you're like, God, was that necessary? Did we really need to do that?
I feel like you didn't have to be that accurate. You can fake veins. I've done it. I didn't hang upside down. Like, all you gotta do is get him with some blue eyeshadow and do it. Like, calm down. You don't have to be so
real
accurate.
Veins.
Okay.
I forget they did. I feel like they did something else for them to achieve their skin, like they're almost that translucent. I can't remember what it was. I might scroll down and see what it was, but yeah, just them hanging upside down, I thought was pretty ludicrous.
The way that you're going, I wouldn't be surprised if you were like, yeah, they used lead-based paint to get the translucent skin. I'd be like, the tracks. Yeah.
And any other scenes that stick out to you? I've got probably one more that I specifically.
I think the ending scene where Lestat shows back up.
Yeah, I had Louis' revenge against the troop where he's burning everything down. I love that. I love him pouring whatever liquid it is all over. I'm
assuming it's gasoline, but like, would they?
I don't think they have gasoline at that point.
I don't think they have gasoline back then. Yeah.
Kerosene, whatever gas they use to light. I don't know.
Whale oil.
Maybe. Who knows? Yeah, but him lighting them all up and then meeting up with that mime guy and killing and slicing him in half with a scythe. That was badass. I wanted so much more of that in this movie.
Same. No, that killing blow to Santiago was like, oh Jesus Christ, Louis. Easy. I will also say, like, it pissed me off how Louis wasn't doing anything. Like, he wasn't a driver of the narrative at all. He was a bystander. He was always just watching, and like things were happening to him. And then it was like, that was kind of the first time that he did something to drive the narrative. Like, even when Lestat was being killed, quote unquote, that was on Claudia. Like, at one point he throws something at Lestat, but that's in like self-defense because Lestat is coming for him. Like, he was just there. But then like once the revenge scene happened, I was like, okay, thank you, Louis, for actually fucking doing something. I appreciate it.
Brad Pitt suffers in this movie because of the lack of anything fun to do.
Yeah. He's just broody. He's just upset. Like, that's his thing, the whole movie. Now, I will say, sorry, it's raining really hard in my apartment right now. He is so pretty. He's so pretty in this movie. It's a little unfair. It kind of makes me feel satisfied as a woman because there's so many times that a woman is in a movie just to be pretty, just to be looked at. So I'm like, yeah, now it's your turn. Shut up, Brad Pitt. Just look pretty and let me look at you.
I do think he is the prettiest out of all of them.
100%. 100%. Yeah. They chose correctly because I do remember in the book, Louis is always like referred to as like just like beautiful Louis. He's so beautiful. And it's like 90s Brad Pitt. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Good job.
We don't even see his body though. It's all face. We never see body of any of these guys. Doesn't matter. We know what's underneath.
And that is also why I say that it's girl dinner, because this is female gaze. 100%. This whole movie is female gaze. It's all like, it's broody and it's just like these really pretty, like almost feminine looking men, like having conversations about their feelings.
Well, this movie had a lack of female gaze in it. A lot of male gaze in this movie.
Nah, funny. funny.
What I'm here for. Okay. Who was your favorite character, or was there somebody specific, like little character, that really stole the scene for you or stole the show?
I feel like you're gonna know. I think Claudia is my favorite character. She does have like all of that anger, and she drives the narrative quite a bit. When the movie is getting like kind of boring there in the middle, she's the one making the decisions and being like, hey, we're gonna go to the old world, we're gonna go to Europe, and then she decides to kill Lestat, and she does all of that without Louis even being like present. And then, like I said, that inner tension is a very interesting character aspect. It's just unfortunate in general also.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that is kind of approached with like a little bit of reality of like what would happen if somebody at that age was turned into a vampire. It's like, what is the reality that would happen? It would be torturous for the person changed and really awkward in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who's your
she is my favorite. Because I think she's giving, again, she pushes the narrative forward. You actually see change within Claudia as she ages. It's very little things, but like you're saying, like she is controlling. She's the one that is making the decisions for them. She even makes the decision she knows that she can see that Louis is about to leave her for Armand, and she's like, I need somebody to go with, because look at me, I look like this. I need somebody that's going to help me and take care of me. So she makes all those decisions. Even like the little things about Claudia, where she goes from being Lestat's doll child. She starts dressing like an adult. She gets to wear the clothes that she wants to once she goes to,
and she changes her hair like as much as she can. She has it like pinned up to kind of take away from that doll-like quality of her curls. So.
And she's the most fun character in the movie. I would give a little bit of Lestat, just like he is not amazing the whole time. I think that Claudia is amazing the entire time she's on screen. Even when she's a little girl begging over her mother to when she changes into like a vicious killer vampire. She's the most interesting character in the whole thing.
100%. Yeah, Lestat's just kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
It's like it's kind of entertaining to watch, but at the same time it kind of gets old. He like almost has a reason and then he doesn't, which is nice. It's like a little like it's a little bit of depth, but like other than that, I really don't see any depth in Lestat. It's like he's just like, I'm an asshole and I'm gonna do what I want, and that's like where he lives. So
but I like Lestat way more than I like Louis, and like after a while I just did not give a shit about Louis. I was like, you're just crying the whole time. Even Lestat's tired of you. He's like, oh, here we go, whiny Louis again. Like,
I loved that line. I love that entire scene where like right at the end when he's like biting Daniel in the car, and he's like, oh, aren't you tired of listening to this fucking whining? I'm like, yes, I am actually.
yeah.
The only thing that I think would make Louis more interesting is, and they use in the TV series, and I think that it's kind of implied in the book, is that since Louis is the one telling the story, he paints himself to be the victim. He's an unreliable narrator. So it's like that makes him a little bit more interesting. But then, with that being the case, I would love to see the quote unquote reality of what actually happened in those moments. Not just Louis remembering that he was a victim and standing on the side and watching things happen. It's like, I want to see what you actually did, Yeah. Hopefully it was more interesting.
And even when it does get to the point where it should get more interesting, like with you, when you bring in Armand and you're like, oh, he's going to get all these answers about vampires and what he should be and all this stuff. You don't get any of it. It really pisses me off that they're like, what's it all mean? And then Armand's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Vampire.
He's like, I'm the oldest vampire and I haven't figured it out, so you're not going to either. It's like, oh, great. Cool.
Great non-answer for this 2-hour movie where the whole, like, where there is little plot except for the Lestat stuff. Like, it's very frustrating.
Yeah, it is. And that's why, like, I feel like the movie is, like, shallow is the best word that I can think. It's like everything is they tried to fit too much in, which means that they couldn't go deep into anything. They couldn't show any nuance. It's like just put all the action that there is on the screen, and that's it. We won't explore anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, very frustrating.
Well, we already kind of mentioned some of the quotes, like why, how can you listen to all this? What are some other quotes that really stuck out to you?
Oh gosh. I mean, it's the same scene again, but like when Lestat comes back right at the end and he just goes, I assume I need no introduction. I'm like, damn, you are that bitch. You know you're that bitch. And I love that. That's really the biggest one that I can think of right now. And then anytime Claudia gets like really angry, and when she just screams through the house, which one of you did this? Like, who did this to me?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
She's got some bangers. She's got some bangers. Louis, I don't even have any. There's
I don't
one
remember
thing.
Louis speaking. He doesn't speak like
Yeah. He shouts at one point and he says, "You lack the courage of your convictions." And I was like, yeah, I love that line. But that's the only then he doesn't talk the rest of the movie, just kind of sits there. Even though he's giving the interview the whole time.
I do think that we should address the depiction of the slaves.
Oh yeah, you want to talk about that?
that was wild. That was just like the tropiest bullshit I've ever seen of like enslaved Black people. I'm just like, oh God, because the first time you really see them is they're performing like some kind of made up hoodoo something assumedly to get Louis and Lestat out of the house. And then at one point, oh gosh, what's the main
She's
woman.
played by Tandy Way. I heard she used to pronounce her name Tandy Newton, is the person, but it's Tandy Way is how it's pronounced, I think now. But yes, that's who she.
But like at one point, she's like talking to Louis, and she's like, "Do we even have a master anymore?" As if she wants to have a master. I'm just like, what? Like that. When I heard that line and the way that she it's delivered in the film, I was just like, as a white person, should I turn this off immediately? As any person, should I turn this off immediately? Because that's a fucked up way to have.
Well, yeah, and I think they do try their best to get out of there as quickly as possible. They're like, okay, we know that he was, he had slaves. It's the 1790s. Let's get away from that as quickly as possible and get them out of that house. But he still kills that girl, and then so the hoodoo, voodoo, whatever it was, worked.
I guess so. I guess.
But yeah.
And then they're
tropey.
like celebrating while the house burns, and they're like dancing, and I'm like, he freed you. Like, I feel like actual people who were enslaved who like heard "you're free, men, go," they'd be fucking out of there. They'd be like, all right, peace, awesome. They wouldn't be standing around like celebrating that the house is burning. I don't know. It bothered me when I saw this.
Yeah.
I was like, this is
I do
up.
agree. It was very like you said, tropey. It is very stereotypical of like New Orleans, with the hoodoo, voodoo stuff. It did come off that way, and yeah, wasn't the best. Lestat a couple times in this says like, I'm gonna give you the choice that I never had, and he always says it in a way that he's like, I'm doing you a favor, I'm giving you this. Of course I wasn't given this choice. Like I'm saving. Yeah, it is to put that power over you and like make you feel like you are choosing this.
But the choice is either turn into a vampire or die, which is not a choice. So I think that's a really good like illustration of his abusive tendencies and manipulation.
Him and Claudia definitely get the best lines in this movie. Lestat says, "Evil is a point of view. God kills indiscriminately, and so shall we. For no creatures under God are as we are, none so like him as ourselves." It's like, damn, laying down the gauntlet.
I know. That was some poetic shit, and it was like, yeah. Good for you, Lestat. And it's like at that point, when he said that, I was like, if I were Louis, I would like, that would work on me. I'd be like, yeah, I gotta kill these people to stay alive, and it's like that's the reality of my existence. So okay, fine, fuck it.
No poodles for me. Claudia also says, "Good night, sweet prince. May flights of devils wing you to your rest." I think she says that after she kills Lestat. Before she kills Lestat, she says, "I came to make peace with you, even though you are the father of lies." I want to.
Father of lies is a great epithet for Lestat, and I think that the Goodnight Sweet Prince is I think it's a misquote of Shakespeare.
Is it?
I think. I don't quote me, don't misquote me on that, but I think it is.
I'm gonna do that anytime I have a fight with somebody. I'm gonna say, "I came to make peace with you, even though you are the father of lies." No matter what, it's just an awesome, passive aggressive way. Yes, I'll definitely do that.
Excellent.
All right, what's your biggest laugh, cry, scare, or thrill, or what moments pack the biggest emotional punch for you?
I think the biggest scare was seeing Claudia's mom. That sting was done really well. And the fact that she was so much more dead than I was expecting. Like, the way that Claudia was acting, I'm like, oh, she, like, died an hour ago. It's like, no, she died, like, a month ago. And, like, she's decomposing now. And I agree with you that one of the, like, what the fuck moments is Lestat then dancing with her corpse and being like, there's some spark in the old girl yet. I was just like,
it's
what?
wild.
What? Honestly, like, I feel like so many of the things, like, they could have been done better to have more punch, because I'm not remembering anything off the top of my head.
I would say that this movie has some again, because of Claudia, this movie and Lestat, that's a very funny moment when he picks up that corpse, but it's also very, disturbing. But Claudia, anytime that Claudia kills anybody in this movie is hilarious. Because it's like her seamstress is, yelling at her. So she kills her. And then Lestat comes in. He's like, don't kill people in the house.
Yeah. And then that. Oh, when she kills her piano teacher because he like slapped her hand and he's just sitting there and just like,
dong.
It's so good.
Yeah. And so anytime that Claudia kills somebody, I think it's very funny. Oh, the doll maker, he's like, oh, you don't have the money for this kind of thing. And then she's walking down the street with her doll that she just robbed from this guy. It's pretty great.
I did find one also, and it's so funny. Again, I think that they wanted to make Lestat like a cunty queen, and they missed the mark, because it's right after Louis burns down his house, and then he like wakes up again. He goes, "Where are we?" And Lestat says, "Where do you think my idiot friend? We're in a nice, filthy cemetery." I'm just like, my idiot friend.
You big dumb idiot. I also think when Lestat grabs Daniel at the end, is kind of a, out of nowhere thing. Wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
Nice little stinger to end the movie with Lestat being back and setting up a sequel. Although
it did also make me suspend my disbelief. Or not, it took me out of the movie, because it was like, y'all are still driving. It's been a long time since somebody touched that steering wheel. And I know that they showed it like careening once, but then I'm like, this is like a 2 or 3 minute long scene. You're still driving?
Fast. Yeah. Other than some of the other, was there anything else like what the fuck that really, stood out to you?
The introduction to the vampire troupe with Santiago being like a mime, and the way that Louis was like kind of laughing at it, when I first saw it, I was like, who's this bitch? What's going on? Like, if somebody came up to me and was just like miming and like doing stuff, if I'm alone in an alley, I'm sucker punching him in the face and running away. I don't care if he's a vampire or not. I'm like, get out.
Yeah, get away from me, please. I think the poodle scene is very jarring. Like when he's with the old lady, and then all of a sudden, it just like, I don't know why it was filmed the way it was, but it just seems like this relief is on Louis' face. He's almost like, I just got off work and I'm eating a bowl of ice cream. Like that's how he sits there with the blood dripping down his face and these dead poodles next to him with this old woman just crying. I was just like, Jesus, what is this?
Yeah. Although I thought it was funny when, like, at first when she thinks that, like, he's trying to get with her and she's like, I'm old enough to be your grandmother, but she's like into it, and I'm like, all right, not to yuck your yum, but you are old enough to be his grandma, and maybe it's something that you should explore with yourself.
It's also not like good game. Don't say that to them, like,
No.
I'm old enough to be your grandma.
Yeah, it's like
Let's
you
do it.
find that hot 20-something little boy, like, no.
Then you got Tom Cruise over there with the fancy boy.
Yeah.
With his little his little nail thing.
Oh, I love his little nail thing. I would 10 out of 10 wear one of those. They're cool. I mean, I've got
You got your own
but
set.
Yeah.
You're doing good.
I love it, but there's like that's so like aristocratic of him to be like, sometimes I don't want to get my cravat dirty.
I'll just give him a little poke. Just a little poke.
Yeah.
All right. The best music moment or score, is there a specific part of the score? The score was done by Elliot Goldenthal. We've seen him once this year with Cobb, the movie Cobb. Anything that really stuck out? I didn't really think the score.
I don't remember the score. I don't.
Yeah.
The only thing that I can think of with music are the two scenes there's more scenes with the piano, but the two scenes that stick out to me be when Claudius Tudor dies and then when Lestat comes back as a swamp witch. Those are really the only music moments that I remember. Other than that, the score was really not a part.
It was there. Yeah.
It was there, I think. I don't remember.
Which is amazing because this did get nominated for Academy Award, which is crazy to me. I wasn't like blown away and I wasn't like, oh, the score in this is so good.
Was there just like not good scores in any other movie in 1994?
I guess not. All right, now it's time to play Fuck, Marry, Kill, which we love to. I think there's an easy triangle in here of Fuck, Marry, Kill. I think they're a great 3-person set. So we're going to do Louis, Armand, and Lestat.
Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. This might be controversial. I would marry Louis for the sole reason that the other two, I feel like, are insufferable, and like Lestat's an abuser, and I feel like Armand is also an abuser. So the reason I would marry Louis is because he would just sit in the corner and look pretty. He would be a trinket on my shelf. And that's it.
You came at this from another way, but Louis was my answer to marry as well.
Okay. What's your reason?
Just because he likes to go to movies, and he loves to go to movies. He's a movie theater guy.
He does like to go to the movies. Trophy husband, yes, exactly.
I would get irritated with him though because he only wants to go see movies with sunrises in it, and I'm just like, God, can we watch something that's not about a fucking sunrise?
And it's like, okay, fine. You go watch a movie about a sunrise at 2 a.m. when I'm asleep. But then like at 9 when I'm off work, we're gonna go see something. Transformers would blow his fucking mind.
I'm a stupid man, yes. But the other two is interesting.
Harder. That's harder because I feel like Lestat, for all of his abusive nature, I feel like he'd be a good lay. And I don't know. Armand, the only thing going for him in my mind is that he's Antonio Banderas. Therefore, also potentially a good lay, but I feel like Antonio Banderas is much better as Zorro for a good lay. As Armand, he's just kind of like, he's bored. He's bored with life. So I feel like he would just be like bored with having sex as well. I don't want to feel that.
I think I'm going to bang Lestat.
Yeah.
And kill Armand.
Can we kill Lestat after we bang him? Can we pray?
Yeah, it's just I think it's just like a one and done thing, you know?
Okay.
So, yeah, you can do whatever you want with Lestat. Which is weird. Yeah, I would think that I would go for the Antonio Banderas part, but yeah, he is just kind of boring to me. Lestat seems like he's so full of life and like he wants to do things like
because Armand is bored. Like boring people are bored. Like you don't usually hear interesting and like passionate people say that they're bored. It's like if you're bored of everything around you, you are probably boring.
It's I don't know if they do this in the show or not, but Armand in the books is much younger. He's a curly hair redhead from Russia, and that is what his character looks like.
That is not. I cannot tell you what Armand looks like because it's a very good twist in the show, but that is not how he is. That's not how he is represented in the show. I will say the show ages well. It has Louis as a late, like a 1915 is around the time that he gets turned. Like around 1915, 1920.
See, they escape all the slavery stuff that way.
They escape the slavery stuff, but instead they put him in the morally compromising position of being a pimp.
Ooh.
Which is interesting. And like running a lot of like bawdy houses, I guess you could say. So that's it, but then it does also bring in like the race aspect, but from a different point of view.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. Yeah. I think we're in agreement for all different reasons, but I think we're in agreement here about our FMKs. Okay. Who do you think gave the best performance in the movie?
Oh, Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah, she's 100%. Amazing.
I think that if they had given him more screen time, Christian Slater, I think he did pretty well as Daniel. Like where he was super disbelieving of everything right in the beginning, and then at the end he's like he wants to be turned and everything, and then he has that scare with Louis, and then like he skedaddles. I think that if he were given more screen time, he probably would have brought a lot more to the character. Yeah,
I agree. He is kind of just there. We don't even get like a pretty Christian Slater. He's just listening and behind a set of glasses. It's just whatever.
You know what? That's a lie. Yeah, because he's wearing like a vest and glasses. That is the female gaze. So that's pretty Christian Slater.
Mr. Shu from Glee. How
dare you?
I hope that just ruined him for you. Okay.
How dare you?
All right. If we wanted to do a 94 recast or a 2024 recast of these movies, what would you do?
There is no 94 recast. They chose correctly.
See, okay. I said that, there's a couple guys in here that I thought that were actually on the list. Ethan Hawke, I think, could have been a good Louis. Especially around that time, because he is very broody and just I think he would have been a more sarcastic Louis instead of just whatever
being a little nothing. He's a nothing, like that's the thing. Present day, I kind of want to see Robert Pattinson as Louis. And the only reason that I think that would work was because he hated playing Edward so much in Twilight that he would come back to the role of being a vampire with just this utter exhaustion.
Yeah.
And I feel like he would kind of have that sarcasm because he would be like, "Oh God, this again."
Yeah, I see
and
that.
I think that there could be some entertainment value in that, and maybe a few more like laughs in the movie.
Think you just cast a bunch of like. In today, you just cast a bunch of rat boy looking dudes, just greaseball looking, like Timothy Chalamet, be perfect, Jacob Elordi, Charlie Heaton, that guy from
you said
like, all these rat boys need to get in this movie because this is.
And then when they're eating the rats, genre. Is that cannibalism?
Yeah, they're just a bunch of little rat boys.
Now, your girlfriend said the same thing about Timothée Chalamet. I don't find him pretty. There's nobody pretty enough to replace 90s Brad Pitt. He's just so ridiculously, stupidly good looking.
That's why I'm like Jacob Elordi. He's like tall and dark and handsome and all that stuff, but still kind of ratty.
Yeah. I mean, it was rat boy summer. It can be rat boy fall again.
It's just rat boys all over. Those are our hot boys right now. Are these?
And that's my dating history too. So.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying anything about your dating history.
You're like, yeah, those bitches.
Throw Matty Healy in here. I love him. Let's put him in here.
Matty Healy. I don't think I can see anybody else besides the guy who plays Lestat in the TV series as Lestat. From here on out, Sam Reed he made himself perfect for that role, and he slays. It's ridiculous. Claudia is a lot harder because it's like they have to have a lot of anger in them, but like simmering anger, not like necessarily outward. It needs to be like under the surface enough.
I do think that they need to age her up though, but age her up with somebody that could also play play younger again, like Kaylee Spaney. She was just in the Alien movie. She's Priscilla in Priscilla. She's in Civil War. She looks very, young.
Oh, yes.
Also, but she's like in her mid-20s, so she could play either or and still be.
I want to find out who played her in the first season of Interview with the Vampire, the TV series, because she did a phenomenal job. Both actresses did. They had to switch because of like some scheduling conflicts that the first actress had. But she's so good. Bailey Bass is her name.
Bailey Bass. Never heard of her.
And again, they did like kind of bring some race into it because she's a black actress. But she did such a good job because she starts off as like extremely like happy-go-lucky and what you might expect, like a 14-year-old whose economic conditions just like vastly changed. She went from being an orphan who's destitute to now like living with these two extremely wealthy people, and like she can have dolls, she can have the dresses, and she's all happy and all this stuff. And then it takes that turn to like, why is my body not aging? Why is this not happening? I want this romantic aspect in my life, but nobody's ever going to give me that because I'm a child on the outside. She does it so perfectly. And then the season 2 actress has that anger, is more like anger forward. If that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Top notes of anger.
Yeah, I think the way you described the TV show and everything, I think that's the direction that if they were to remake the movie into anything, that's the direction that they should go. Definitely. You could. And sounds like they play it off.
14 is like, it's still obviously not okay. It's still not kosher, but it's like she was like just on the edge of womanhood. And so it almost has that like inherent tension of that, the puberty change within it as well. Cause it's like when you're a 14-year-old girl, it's like sometimes you do, sometimes you don't have the body of a woman, but it's like you're starting to have those thoughts. And then she's just kind of always stuck in that transition stage.
Ugh, that's gotta be rough. That's like almost even worse.
It is. So it's like double tension of like you're always stuck in this position where you're transitioning into a new life and you're never going to get there. So
don't love it.
Nope.
All right.
Great.
All right. Any I've got some fun facts about the film or things that I've looked up about the film. Do you have any research or anything that you did?
The biggest one that I had was that in the book Claudia's 5, which is like I want to have words with Anne Rice. Be like, what's wrong with you? Why would you do that? Because that's all kinds of messed up.
Nah, her mind's fucked. She wrote this stuff.
She wrote this stuff. She made it up. I do think that the whole scenario where Lestat is like, I got her for you so that you won't leave, Louis. It's so like that kind of coded of like a marriage is failing and they're like, well, let's have a kid to save it.
Yes, I actually had that in my notes.
I mean, this is so the opposite of what anybody needs to do. It's like, just let it fail and leave. You have an eternity. If you want to come back to each other later, you can do that. But like, leave.
Yes. Yeah, I have stay together for the kids in my notes. That's let's have a baby. It'll fix everything. It's not good. The body count in this movie is 56, which was a lot higher than I thought. Somebody sat there and counted all the dead people.
Did they count the rats?
I don't think they counted the rats. Sorry about people that rat lives matter.
Rat boys lives matter.
Rat boy lives matter. Christian Slater was actually given the role because River Phoenix died before he could be in it. He was actually originally cast in this. So,
River Phoenix would be really interesting in that role.
Yeah. Christian Slater actually donated his entire salary to Phoenix's favorite charities. So
Oh, well, that's really nice.
yeah,
Christian Slater's
nice.
a good guy.
Good guy, Christian Slater. Let's see here. I already did a couple of these. This was Kirsten Stewart's first on-screen kiss, and she was been interviewed about it. They are 18 years apart. It's not as disgusting of a kiss as you would think it is.
They don't actually kiss.
But it's like
At
mouth
least-
to
Yeah.
it's mouth to mouth, but she was like, yeah, it was gross. I was 12. That boy had cooties. I don't like that. And Brad Pitt also, who hated this movie, hated the entire thing, was like, yeah, I don't want to kiss this child. So
Yeah.
they,
I mean, I think that when, at least from what I saw when they filmed it, like she's like covering his, like she's going in like this, like with her hand, like covering it. So I'm like, I was under the impression that they didn't actually kiss.
they did kiss.
They did. That's fucked up.
Yeah.
Why?
So-
I mean, I know why, but why? No.
Why? Also, because Kirsten Dunst, they kind of took care of her on set and everything. Tom Cruise, I don't know if any of you have ever heard of the cruise cakes that get sent out every Christmas, but Kirsten Dunst, because of this movie, receives a cruise cake from Tom every Christmas. It is a coconut cake with white chocolate chips in it. It's supposed to be like one of the best cakes ever. And he sends it out to
two things that I hate: coconut and white chocolate.
He sends it out to all of his friends that he's met over the years.
Okay.
Anne Rice, here's an interesting one for you. Anne Rice met with Tom Hanks because she thought he would be best for the part of Lestat after seeing his performance in Philadelphia.
America's sweetheart.
Yeah.
In the role of an abusive asshole. Yeah, she's got a lot of things messed up in her mind, and I would love to sit down and talk to her and just be like, "Hi, what's wrong with you? How did you get like this?"
Yeah, she's got quite a mind on her. In development, the role of Louis was actually rewritten to be a female character at one point because it was too gay, and she thought she could never get this made. So she was thinking about having Cher or Angelica Houston playing the role of Louis instead.
Okay, lots to unpack there. One, I'm glad that it could get made, even though it is very homosexual. Two, I feel robbed now, knowing that we could have had Cher or Angelica Houston in this role. I want that to happen now. I want, Cher as Louis, Angelica Houston as Lestat. Now.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Cher would be way meaner.
Okay, we can flip them. I
I'll
don't care.
flip them.
I want those two in those two roles, and I want it made immediately.
Immediately.
Oh, and then Catherine Zeta-Jones can be Armand.
There you go. Perfect.
There's my 2024 request.
All right. Like a fine wine and dish, if you could pair this movie with another movie for a double feature, what would you choose?
I think Lost Boys.
Okay.
Because
yeah.
I would actually want to see vampires actually doing something.
Mm-hmm.
You go from like vampires doing nothing and being broody and sad to, oh shit, these guys are gonna eat me. And it is still girl dinner. So
Yeah. The movies that I had suggested, Only Lovers Left Alive. I think that's a Jim Jarmusch movie, but it's
I've never seen it.
Tilda Swinton and Hiddleston, Tom Hiddleston, are these very sexy old vampires, and they're just super in love with each other. There's not a lot of like talking or anything in it. It's very arty. So that's one. And then I went a little queer coded on these next two. One of them is a vampire movie. It is from the 70s. It's called The Vampire Lovers, and this one is it's about lesbian vampires. So.
Okay, all right. I like the representation.
Yeah,
That's
it might
great.
be on Tubi if people are looking for it. I don't know if it is or not. And then I picked another gay-coded movie that is nobody not thought it was at the time, but it's definitely super, super gay. It's Alfred Hitchcock's Rope, where the two main characters are very much in love with each other. And it is a kind of horror movie-esque to it. So Rope was great.
Now-
old movie.
I'll say it one more time. If you didn't like if you felt like we did when you watched this movie and you felt like you were gypped out of like some of these, like just the movie in general and like the story has a lot more potential, watch the series. Watch it after you watch this movie, because if you watch the series first and then you watch this movie, you'll be disappointed. So it's 2 seasons currently. I know that they're filming a 3rd and I think potentially a 4th. And it's so good.
Yeah, it's not canceled like other TV series that we see.
It's on AMC. It's not on Netflix. Netflix cancels all the good shows, but AMC is trying, I guess.
As long as somebody's trying. Well, on a scale of 1 to 5, how likely are you to rewatch this movie? What'd you say? I'm sorry. A 0.5?
A 1 or a 0.5?
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not likely to watch again. I feel like I know what happened and like that's kind of all that matters. If I'm high and I'm looking for a movie that's really easy to follow with like some really beautiful visuals, and I don't just mean Brad Pitt. I think that some of the scenes are very pretty. I think that the director did a good job with some of the camera shots. Yeah, I think that's kind of the only time that I would watch it though, is if I'm like not actually paying attention to it. Yeah.
I agree. I think I went lower on it too. I think 1.5 or a 2 on the rewatchability of this. Yeah.
It's bad. It's really bad that We're Back ranks higher on my rewatchability score than this does. But that's the reality of this situation.
That's what it comes down to. All right. Out of 5 stars, what do you rank it overall?
3.
Yeah.
3. And I'm giving it a little bit more grace because I do think that it reintroduced the vampire genre to the like overall zeitgeist. Like before this, what vampire story was as big as Interview with the Vampire?
Yeah.
And I do feel like this walked so that Twilight could run.
Yeah,
and it didn't run very, very fast, but Twilight does run.
And thank God for Twilight, everybody. That's what we have decided here. Well, big thank you to our guest, Tori. That wraps up everything for us. I gave it a 3 too, if my agreement didn't go with that. But before we wrap up, Tori, are there any movies that you've seen lately? And I have an extra question that I will ask you after, if you have any of these, off the top of my head.
I saw Beetlejuice, and I loved it. It's great. I did rewatch the original Beetlejuice first, and I was very surprised by how short it is. And like, it's kind of the same. It's like not much necessarily really happens. There's like maybe one plot point that happens that drives everything else. But rewatch it before watching Beetlejuice, but definitely watch Beetlejuice. It's a great sequel.
Good. Yeah, I'm really looking forward. I love Beetlejuice. One of my go-to Tim Burton movies. Love that movie. Anything else that you've watched recently?
Not movies wise. I think that's kind of my big one. I do want to watch the remake of The Crow. I haven't
I've heard
yet.
It's bad.
I think.
No. I heard it's really bad, which made me sad.
I mean, that kind of makes sense because like I haven't heard anything about it since it came out, so it doesn't bode well. I haven't watched it yet, but Lisa Frankenstein.
Yeah, I haven't. It's on my list too to watch. All right. Since we're in the month of October and we're getting ready for Halloween and gearing up for that, what are, if you could name probably your favorite scary movies? I know you like to watch a lot of scary movies, but if you could name 4 or 5 of your favorites.
Okay. You and I have done the same thing where we've done 31 nights of horror movies in the past. Yes, I've seen a few. One of my favorite feel-good movies in general, if I'm having a bad day, is The Conjuring. It's a great movie. So if you are feeling like you want like ghosty, demony kind of stuff, The Conjuring is amazing. The first one is the best one. And I'll fight anybody who says otherwise.
Some of the sequels are not bad though. Like
No, they're not bad at all, honestly. I think the worst one is like probably the third one. I think it's just the weakest one, but
That's
it's
not the
still
British one,
entertaining.
is it?
No,
I
that's the
love
second one.
I really do.
The second one's good. Yeah, and that's based on a true story. True story too.
It also has one of my man
so
crushes in it. I love Patrick Wilson. I think that's like my type.
Oh, okay. That's okay. Patrick
Yeah.
Wilson is your type. Noted. Okay. So if you're looking for like ghosty demony stuff, The Conjuring is big. If you like, well, I'm saying you. If I'm in the mood for like a slasher kind of movie, I mean, Scream is such a classic. I actually just rewatched it this past week. It's great. Also, Girl Dinner.
Skeet.
That's all. Yes, Skeet.
Terrible name.
Which who names their child Skeet? That's an unfortunate name. Why? There's kind of a. Oh, you know what's really really good is the oh god, what's it called? Fear Street. Fear Street trilogy came out on Netflix.
2 years.
Gosh, 2021, I think. Excellent. So good. And that's slashery, ghosty. It plays off a lot of the like classic tropes of like older movies. So good. I mean that's like 10 movies already. If you go with like the whole Conjuring universe. What about you?
My favorite movie, scary movies. Exorcist is always up there for me. That's like number one among all horror movies. I know that's a typical one, but God, it's so good. Scream is among.
Your mother sucks cocks in hell.
I mean, what a lot, and from a child, nonetheless, to say that.
Yeah.
Scream is on my top 5 too. Alien, I can't say it has probably some of the best jump scares that I've ever seen in a horror movie, and.
Is it bad? I've never actually seen any of the Alien movies. They're I don't lean as close as like more towards monster movies. I don't really do that. And sci-fi has never been like a big thing for me, but I do feel like I should watch
Alien. No, the first one I will say, and Joseph in chat is a big Alien guy. He maybe he would agree with me, but Alien 1 is truly a horror movie. The other ones are get a little bit more sci-fi with horror elements, I think, in them. And I think Alien Romulus is played as more of a horror movie as well. But Alien, the first one, is genuinely a horror movie and so good. If you count Silence of the Lambs as a horror movie, it is one of my favorite. Yeah, that's actually what's playing in the background.
It's Serial Killer.
In Evil Dead 2, I think if I was rounding out my top 5.
I do like the original Evil Dead, and I'm not gonna. The remake of Evil Dead was pretty good. It was. I don't remember the second one.
The second one is basically a remake of Sam Raimi's first Evil Dead. It's just funnier and more slapsticky. And I think that's what really drew me to it. I was like, this is true. That is true horror comedy to me. So,
although if you haven't watched, there are 2 of them, and they were Netflix movies. The Babysitter.
Oh, I actually love The Babysitter. It's so fun.
They're good. They were really good. Yeah, they were like, and I think it took me back at first because I wasn't expecting it to be so, like, it's one of those movies that's so like outlandish that it's hilarious. I think Bella Thorne's death in the second one made me laugh for like 5 minutes. I still think about that.
Yeah, that is a fun series that I did not expect to see.
Yeah.
So I've been doing the 31 movies this month as well, and I've seen some good.
Any new ones? Or
I have
been
doing
rewatches?
all new ones. That's been my goal, is to watch 31 movies I haven't seen before. So, Bone Tomahawk is up there for me. It is a Western horror movie. There might be it's got some gruesome stuff in it. It's pretty crazy. So if you're a little squeamish on gore, I would not watch it. Found footage movie that I really enjoyed. It's called Hell House LLC.
Isn't that the one with the guy from Ghost Hunters?
I have no idea.
Maybe it's not.
Could be. Could be. That one was good. And then this one's not as scary. It's more of a cute movie than anything. But it's Wallace and Gromit and the Curse of the Were-Rabbit. It's adorable.
Yes, I love that. I love that so much.
So yeah, those are
claymation is kind of freaky. So.
But three. I mean, that was fun. Those are three of the ones that I've really, loved this month. So yeah,
that's great. Awesome.
All right. I think that concludes everything. Again, thank you, Tori, for doing this with me. Thank you for embracing this and dealing with the technical difficulties in the morning and putting in your teeth and
Thank you for letting me wear these teeth. Well, okay, I actually upgraded my teeth. I had teeth that I already had. That was in that photo that you had of me, but I did upgrade, and I just needed an excuse to buy more vampire teeth. Thank you.
Anytime.
For that.
I'm sure we'll see you again in the near future, maybe on another Brad Pitt movie. I think I've got you. Brad Pitt, long hair, more beautiful.
Just let me look at him. I'm going to set him as my screensaver. Just look at him.
Well, thank you again so much. Just a reminder for everybody that for a couple things, every month we have a bonus stream, and the month's bonus stream this month is called Game Over Man, where we're talking about a couple movies, Double Dragon and Street Fighter, based on the video games movies. They're both terrible. I can't wait to watch those and talk about those at the end of the month. It's the last Wednesday of every month. We just did our director rankings for the Coen brothers this past week, and we'd like to do another one of those again. There's a poll in Discord, so if you are a Discord person and want to, talk with us when we're not streaming, please, go to our Discord. You can find the link on our Twitch or any of our socials. You can add those as well, and check out the account on Letterboxd. Next Sunday, we're going to be covering Serial Mom. I think we'll be here for Sunday. It is streaming currently on video on demand. That should be a fun one. It's a John Waters film. So,
is that? Oh my God, a John Waters.
Yeah.
Film.
So
okay.
Serial Mom.
I have multiple John Waters quotes in my home. The number one is, if you go home with them and they don't have books, don't fuck them.
We're in for a good one then next week. So we'll be watching Serial Mom. And other than that, thank you all so much for tuning in, subscribing, doing anything, being here in the chat. We really appreciate you. And we'll see you next time on